Hey, friends.
Hi, friends. Some technical difficulties on
Baby.
multiple fronts today. We normally do this through IG Live, but we're making do today.
We are coming to you live on the tube of you, as I like to call it. So I am Dehjai.
And I'm Kandron, and we are Black and Curious.
Yes.
It's Monday night, so that means it's time for reality recap. If you follow our channel, you know we normally do these weekly, but we've been out of the loop. So we trying to get back in the loop. And IG was being a hater. That's okay.
We could not get on, honey. So we're gonna have to tell the cousins. I tried to leave a message for the cousins so that they can know that we was gonna be on time today. And the message didn't go through. I said, come on, Instagram girl.
I also tried to show a video of what I was drinking, and that also didn't go through. So that's when I knew it was gonna be shenanigans right then and there, but I was hopeful.
Child, let me tell you, as they say, Mercury is in microbraids. But for those who don't know what that means, we're in retrograde right now for Mercury, which affects all the goddamn technology. Mm-hmm. So technology, interpersonal communications and relations, communication period as it relates to intimate communications and otherwise. So just be mindful, y'all. It's time out here right now for the next 2.5 weeks. So, girl.
We made it.
We made it, nigga.
Okay.
So, what you drinking? Because we got to get into the swing of things. It's been 2 weeks since we have been here talking to the girls.
Yes. Okay. I am just drinking the Black Girl Magic Rosé. You too?
Not Black Girl Magic. I didn't go get that, but I do have rosé.
Cheers.
Cheers. I've picked, me and my favorite store, the Joe of Traders. I ran in there and got a couple of things because I made a bougie Dehjai special sangria for the girls when we went to brunch in DC yesterday.
Oh,
so
cute.
Me up an extra little bottle. So, but yes,
lovely.
That little lovely drink, little bougie cocktail I made. I was like, the girls was getting lit.
I love a sangria. Always love a sangria.
For sure. So what are we talking tonight? Let's go and run down the list.
Let's go Love and Marriage Huntsville. I guess so for tonight we can do like a general overview because we've missed so many episodes. So we're like 3 episodes deep at this point. So
I thought it was only 2 weeks that we didn't talk.
It was only 2 weeks, but we had episodes those weeks and we had this week's episodes.
Right. Okay.
So Love and Marriage Huntsville, Real Housewives of Potomac, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
So Salt Lake City, I totally missed last night because I was coming back from DC. So you're going to catch me up on that one. Sidebar. Have you started watching Our Kind of People?
I have it recorded, but I have not watched it.
Okay, I feel like that we should, even though it's not a reality recap, it's Black television. I feel like we should do like recaps. It would be cute.
Okay, sure, I'm down. All right, so where you want to start?
Let's do the girls down in Huntsville.
Well, the Huntsville girls were down to Vegas the last several weeks, and
woof is right.
It's been much.
A whole lot.
It's been much.
Girl, much is not, as my friend of a friend says, the girls be muchy.
It was giving very muchy.
So for me, the most of what I remember is a whole lot of like Mel and Martell going back and forth. And I'm not going to lie to you, all that energy and angst and animosity that they have for one another leads me to believe that they are going to end up back in the sheets if they haven't done so already. That's a whole lot of passion behind that angst. Okay. And not angst, behind that anger. Like they are really doing a lot. And it just seemed like a whole bunch of sexual chemistry.
And Mel said Martell had creeped in her room one of those nights at like 1 a.m. tiptoeing, and she was like, "Go ahead on now. No, not interested."
But my thing is, she kept saying it because she wanted him to address it. And it's like, but girl, you was asleep, but you knew he was there. So like, what? Come on now. What's the real story, sis?
I don't know. I think she's still. They just get on my nerves, anyways, because they just each take everything so personally, and so they're so sensitive with everything, and it's just like, girl, it didn't even have to be all that. Like every single thing, it's like pew, and it's like, okay, why? This is so much for not. It wasn't even didn't even call for all that.
And didn't, but people gonna be who they are to each other, and they're freshly in their state of disarray as it relates to their marriage. So like anytime they get together, it's always gonna be a whole bunch of like falderall and foolery, primarily because of the fact that they don't, from what I would assume, they don't really have a whole lot of communication. So like them getting together to do the not couples counseling, the parental counseling, so that they can be good co-parents, is probably about all the communication that they had. But I'm almost, starting to feel like that they've had that one session that we saw on TV, and that was the hell it. Like,
I don't think there's been more sessions after that. I think it was just the one. But also Martell's, what do we call her now? Girlfriend? Or whatever. Yeah. I would feel away. I mean, she's not a side piece anymore, allegedly, apparently. But she's the main, I guess. Do side
chicks? Yeah, she's always gonna be the side piece. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, do side chicks get promoted? I don't know. Anyways.
No, not when the man is still talking about his now ex-wife.
Right. That was my point. It's like, if she didn't feel a way when he called her a peasant on national TV, she ought to feel a way by the way he keep arguing with Melody on national TV.
And all that.
I'm with you. It still feels very like passionate, like that whole opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. Like it's still giving that same love-hate energy, and under the right circumstances, i.e. under a circumstance where Mel would let him, he would definitely be back over there.
But here's the thing. I don't even know, like, the way that they go at each other so hard, and like all of the, because it's really like, I'll give Martell a little bit of credit in this one, is that in the last couple of episodes, he really was on some just trying to be easy and like us be cool and like make jokes and just kind of have some sort of friendly relationship because we're still connected through our friend group. Mm-hmm. It was more so her that was constantly going at him, like he's trying to get a rise out of him. For him to be all angry and frustrated and, veins bulging and carrying on. And it's like, but girl, what is the outcome? Because the way you was coming at him, it looked to me, if y'all had gotten a little bit closer, you'd have been like, you know what I'm saying? And I know that seems crazy, but like,
it doesn't.
There's always that one couple in the group of friends that be cussing and fussing and arguing and carrying on. That like throw the whole damn party off because they can't get right, or they don't know how to have their arguments in the comforts of their own home, opposed to displaying it for everybody to see. Child, a mess. I feel like they're going to end up back together. And Martell said it. I feel like he even knows because he lets her fuss and cuss and go off and act a fool. And he might say a little bit, but for the most part, he just be like, all right, it is what it is. This is par for the course. Like, that's my mother and father.
He does, but I don't, in this situation, this particular episode, I think she definitely was doing more than he was.
Sure.
I don't think that's always the case. I think sometimes he takes off on some stuff and you be like, that's not what she meant at all. Like even after their couples co-parenting therapy or whatever, he flew off on something and it was like, she had your back that time. Like, relax, everybody calm down. It's like everybody is so still in their feelings about everything.
That and the fact that like they know how to push each other's buttons because they were married together for so long. So really and truly, that's a lot of what it is that we're seeing.
Yeah, you can tell they know how to push each other's buttons. It's like the thing that gets Martell going is that damn song that's not good. And the thing that gets Melody going is anything as it relates to the children. Like if he says like, oh, you always have babysitters for the kids, or things like that gets her going. Like any insinuation that she isn't doing enough by her children.
Mm-hmm. Which understandably for any mother, I feel like that would be a real trigger.
Of course.
But like with the coming episodes, there's now going to be talk about him trying to get custody of the children because he's not comfortable with them being with nannies and so on and so forth. And I believe that Mel had said on other like outlets, you know, like the blogosphere and carrying on, that he's never been able to keep the kids when he's supposed to have the children. So like, I'm curious to see how this is going to play out if you've been like the absentee dad.
That was part of it. That was part of their couples, not couples, their co-parenting.
I know, we can call it that.
Yeah, of her saying like, hey, you know, I'm trying to work with you, but you're never getting the kids when you say you're going to. And basically he contributed that to being broke. I mean, essentially, like he doesn't really have anything. So it's like he needs a little bit more flexibility and grace, I guess.
But I mean, we'll see, because according to him, like he's not he stated in other conversations that he's not in the place in which he used to be. So I'm trying to figure out how exactly this is going to play out, but you know, all that remains to be seen.
Also, love it or hate it, this is going to be a controversial take. I'm going to just be upfront. Love it or hate it, like the song isn't good, but she's touring with it and she has things going on with it. So of course she needs help, and she's going to have, you know, when she did her video shoot, she had her friend there on set with her to help with her kids. It's like Martell don't have no builder's license. He don't have nothing else to do. So is that his argument as to why he should have his children full time? It's like, I don't have nothing else to do. I don't have no job. So, and like, how is that a thing?
Like, what are you talking about?
How are you going to provide for them?
That part. I'm like, when he was what was he hustling hair products and carrying on at Madani's hair salon store, whatever, the beauty supply, Lord, hair salon store. What am I talking about?
We're all scrambled up here today.
Girl, technical difficulties for a second. The little screen blinked out. So if y'all didn't see us for a moment, that's just because it's can't use words either. It's Mercury retrograde, as we said, and the technology is.
Yeah.
So let's talk Maurice and Kimmi.
Is there much to say? What do you think there is to talk about? One more thing before we move on. One more thing. Okay. I agree with Mel. She said, like, they keep bringing up her and Martell reconciling. And I don't think that's funny. Like, I don't think it's appropriate, and I don't think it's funny. I get it that is within the friend group, but like, he literally put her through hell. So all of these jokes of like, oh, and then even with him, the way he was just like, oh no, there's gonna be more Holtz because I'm gonna be remarried. It's like, you knew what she meant. She meant that you guys are not going to be together as a unit. She might not be a Holt anymore. She's probably going to go on and get remarried. She's pretty young. So she's going to probably go and remarry too. But she meant that y'all wouldn't be Holtz as like a family unit with the other couples. And it's just like, I don't know. It just feels like digging. Like they're putting salt in the wound. I don't know if that's intentional, but it's very annoying.
I would even dare say that it's part of like the storyline, like the plot line, in the sense of like, yeah, absolutely. Let's put some salt in the wound because we know that the two of them are going to react to it.
Maybe.
You know? But so
anyways, moving on.
We've had enough about the Holtz and their non-existent relationship, but relationship. Maurice and Kimmi, how you feel?
Yeah. I don't have any feelings about them. This trip didn't give me any additional feelings towards them. I think that, or I hope to be wrong, but I think Maurice needs to Like, watch how he's talking to Kimmi, because Kimmi is like, she looked like she's never been married. So she might just be like, I don't have to deal with this and I'm out. And her child is grown. So she's like, yeah.
I hear that, but I don't know. That's the thing that I have like a pause on, in the sense of like, I don't think that Kimmi is going to so easily walk away from her marriage because of the fact that she has never been married and has wanted to be married.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that.
But
I think they're a good fit. I just think he is, I think we
messing up.
Not even that. Like, we're comparing him to Martell and Marsau. It's like, by comparison, Maurice is probably the best out of the bunch. But like, also, if we had Maurice on a different show, or if we had him by himself, I'm not sure that we would feel the same way, especially when his son came to live with them, and how Kimmi was kind of like, he sort of does his own thing and I just get in where I fit in, and like, I need help. Like, I'm not going to do all the housework just because I'm the only woman in the house. It's 4 of us living in here, 2 grown men and an old enough boy that he should have chores. So, I think that causes a little bit of friction. But I agree with you. I think she's definitely wanted to be married. And from what I can tell, she like really loves him. So
yes. And I think that he really loves her too. But the issue that I have is that I hate, like how we've discussed with the Beverly Hills housewives. I hate that he always seems to leave her out there.
Yeah.
And like we've talked about this before in the recaps, there's no like preservation of your wife. And like, while he might do that on the back end, like off camera or whatever the case may be, that's not being shown to the world. And maybe Kimmi doesn't need that. Maybe she's not the kind of woman that needs for her partner to show up for her in those moments when you're in front of cameras. But like, at some point that shit gets tiring, because at this point the way it's looking and how it's being presented to the world that is watching is that you, Kimmi, always have to fight your battles. And I hate that for her.
I do too.
Like, and not to say that she's not capable, because she's very capable and she shuts things down with like class and ease that is unmatched outside of when she was dealing with the crazy mama. But like, for the most part, Miss Wanda. But for the most part, she's usually level-headed, and I appreciate that about her. But I hate that there's this constant conversation about Kiowa, and then there's this ridicule about her son, and she has to be the one to have her back. Like that, I guess what it is for me that I am so endeared to her is that I understand what it's like to be the odd man out and have your back up against the wall and always having to swinging your arms to fight. And not feeling like you have any sort of support, because that shit is exhausting.
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree. He doesn't have her back enough for me. And while it might not be my values necessarily, it seems like they have traditional values. And if you're looking for her to be a traditional woman, then you should be a traditional protector and be out there and clearing her name and being like, no, that's not what happened. Especially with the whole Kiowa thing, like, saying that, Kimmi was the other woman and all of this stuff. Like, it's just,
like,
he could do more. He could do more. He's
as the husband, it's in the vows, or not maybe the vows, but like the marriage rights, that the husband is supposed to cover his wife. And I feel like in this area he has not been covering her, and I feel awful for her because of that.
I agree with you on that. I totally agree with you on that. Speaking of that is actually the critique that Lewis and Tiffany had of basically both Maurice and Marsau, of like, hey, you're not talking to your wife, and that's the problem. Now, them niggas need to shut the fuck up. So there's that. But
I'm glad you said it, because you saw my face where I was like,
y'all are new here. So it's like, y'all just got
very
here.
new.
And
2.5
sorry
seconds.
for my language, but it was just what it was. Had to be said.
I'm like, just because you on your second marriage and you all have this way of operating and how you communicate with one another, okay, great. That's your business. And understandably, there does need to be in friend groups someone who points out the obvious and like, hey, you should check these blind spots. But right, I'm not done. But right, like, but as you being a new party coming in and trying to observe whatever is going on, your mouth should be shut and you should be receiving what is happening. Because you haven't been given, in my opinion, not from what we've seen, the green light to really be all up in these people's business and talking to them about what should be going on and what shouldn't be going on in their relationships, as though your shit is perfect.
Have not. And you just got here. You just got here, and you also just got married. Now, did I agree with the whole Marsau Tisha vow renewal thing? No, I did not. Not because that it just got on my nerves, because it was like, and he just didn't want to do it, and it was just like, just throw a bone. And then in the next breath, he was like, "Well, I don't have problem paying for the things that I want to do." And it's just like, well, why can't you just take an L for her sometimes? And that's what really annoyed me. But at the same time, I'm like, don't listen to them. You know how your marriage runs, sis. We know Marsau is a mess. So if that's the marriage that you have accepted, don't let these people come in here telling you, oh, you should just do it anyway. No, the hell you should not. No, the hell you should not. That is not your marriage.
The issue too, like as we're talking about Marsau and Tisha, is that in watching more of him like communicating as of late, I realized that he's just not self-aware. He lacks like self-awareness to the utmost power.
100%.
Because he doesn't see the harm, like emotional harm that he is causing. Because he's so quick to, well, no, like that's not the case. Like he gaslights a lot because he's so unaware. I almost feel like his lack of self-awareness is also a lack of like having done the work in the sense of knowing himself and knowing who he is and how he wants to show up in the world and how that presents both in his marriage and his family with his as a father to his children, in his businesses, and which would make sense to the fact that he stated that him being very depressed. Because if you are missing that foundation and you're grasping at straw, especially in a time that we've been living in as of late with the panorama, it's not, if you don't have no foundation, like you just gonna be, treading quicksand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I thought that, to me, it's funny because Marsau has all the sense in the world and even has some awareness, except when it comes to Tisha in his own marriage. Like when he was talking to Mel, I respected the hell out of what he said to Mel and what he was saying between him and Martell, of being like, men always want to come out and compare themselves to what other men do. And it doesn't matter if that's not the thing that your partner wants you to do.
But that's
and
what
also he said, and he was also saying like, men want to think that they're the best thing that ever happened to a woman. And sometimes that's just not the case. Now he can see that as it relates to Mel and Martell because their marriage has ended, but he cannot hear Tisha crying out for help and crying out for attention and the things in not understanding that her needs are not being met. Like it's the same exact thing. And it's the same exact thing that got Mel and Martell to that place that Tisha is asking you for right now before you guys get to that place. Like he doesn't have that switch, he's like, he is one of those very like traditional, like I'm a provider. I come home at night. Don't matter what you did during the day. I come home at night and I'm a provider. And it's like, people need more than that.
Yes. 100%.
Like people need more than that, especially when you have an entire family and it's not like they're super old either. Like it seems like they started having kids pretty early on in their marriage. They have a 13-year-old or something. And it seems like they got together in maybe their early 20s. So they're probably in their like late 30s, early 40s. It's like Tisha's still kind of
they're in their 40s. They're older than us. They're in their 40s.
Okay. So, but that's what I'm saying. It's they're not like, super old parents that started having kids at 35, 40. There's nothing wrong with that because I don't have none at this point. But, they're not kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, they had kids young. So there's, she's still kind of like, I'm still wanting to be out and about and doing stuff. And I'm still vibrant. Yeah, and I'm still vibrant. I'm not ready to go home and just be sitting in the house all the time. Like, no. Perk it up.
But that's exactly what he wanted her to be all this time up until COVID hit and they were both in the house together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that being in the panorama has done I wouldn't even say a disservice. It's done more of a service to their relationship and their partnership as it relates to how they move as a unit and don't move as a unit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's really clear at this point that they have been two ships passing in the night, and Marsau was basically out doing whatever he wanted to do, however he wanted to do it. But as you said, he would come home and make sure everything was financially taken care of. And to Tisha's point, that's not enough anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that was great then, but like, I could bet that maybe she's not been able to articulate it in this way, but having gone through the panorama like the rest of the world, and now you guys are in the same home all the time, you're realizing the holes within your unit
as a disconnect, and that they probably don't know each other very well.
Yeah, and like that's hard.
You've been together 15 years and you still don't even know each other that well.
And even if, like, I wouldn't even say that they don't know each other that well. I would probably dare say that they don't know each other now.
Yeah.
Because it's seemingly no communication. Mm-hmm. Like, at one point it was, because Tisha she echoed his sentiments that it was important to them for her to be at home and raise the kids and have everything ready for him to come home. And that was their dynamic. And it worked at that time. Mm-hmm. But like, we've had this conversation on a previous podcast where we were talking about, like, as couples, you should have reevaluation points in your relationships, especially once you hit like a 10-year mark, because that's a decade together. You could be two totally fucking different people by the time you've been together for a decade.
Yeah.
So like,
and the agreements and assumptions you started your marriage with or your relationship with are not the same as where you are now. Like, even with Tisha and Marsau, it's like, okay, maybe they started their marriage with that understanding that she was going to stay at home with the kids until X said time. And so now we have reached X said time, or maybe we're a couple years early, but the kids are out of the way. So like, what is she supposed to do? The kids are in school all day. What is she supposed to do now? And those are conversations that you have to revisit, in a meaningful way and not just sort of dismiss.
Like, don't brush it over. Don't dismiss. I hate that, even though Tisha gets on my nerves in this capacity, I hate that he's so dismissive of her. But I feel like I see him more clearly now.
Yeah, definitely.
Than we ever have before, because he's saying things that make a lot of sense, in the sense of like, especially with the depression piece of it all. And like, coupling that with the other commentary that he's had around how he moves as a man and how he shows up in his relationships, and like the conversation that they all had
is secondary for him, which is
crazy. That's what I was going to go to. Exactly. Like, that is heavy, because that tells me as someone who is, I'm a life coach, so as someone who's sitting on the receiving end of this conversation, you don't value yourself. Mm-hmm. You value the commitments that you've made to someone else, which, like, I feel like you and I have had this conversation briefly, but I have this huge thing that I teach people about the commitments and agreements that you have with yourself and with others. And oftentimes those agreements that you've made with yourself, the agreements that you've made with yourself, as in, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to live this way, so on and so forth, will rub up against the rough edges and boundaries and, like, constraints of the commitments that you've made to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And then if you're not aware enough, you sacrifice those agreements that you've made to yourself and betray yourself in some way so that you can continue to fulfill the commitment that you make to someone else for fear of being disappointing to them or not following through or whatever the judgments that may come. And like that to me, like none of that shit matters. What matters most is how you feel on the inside, because if this is not right, then how you project outwardly and how you show up and all those commitments that you have to other people is not going to be right either.
Agreed. And I think we've even gotten some of that with Marsau, talking about, you know, like his family. I remember him saying like, you know, they didn't grow up with very much, and he is older than Maurice, although I'm not sure how Maurice is older. I take that back. Maurice is older. But
weird part, because Marsau does look older.
He does look older. But just not knowing like what he's doing as far as being like a provider for his entire family and like all of those things. And he's the one that's spearheading this, you know, Scott Manor and the whole, you know what I'm saying? Like the whole thing, and like how all of that ties in is like, this is my obligation. These are my things. These are my priorities. But none of that really has anything to do with the things that make him happy internally. And I will say one more thing before we move on, that the other thing I think the Panini Press affected people is like not being able to be out in social. It can mess with your status and like how you see yourself in community with others. As far as like, so like Marsau, right? He's this, you know, construction guy. Like Huntsville isn't but so big, so he probably knows a lot of people in town, and he's probably like some sort of, I don't really know how to say it, but like he's like well known, you know, out and about, it seems. So not having that access to people to like reaffirm you in that way, and doing the deals and doing the this and doing the that, it can affect your self-esteem too.
I totally agree, especially if you define yourself by the outward things that you do, and not necessarily by the character that it is that you are.
Which it seems that he has conceded to have done. Yeah. So that conversation
great case study.
Huh?
I said he's a great case study.
Yeah, the conversation at the end was, I was just, it was excellent, and I just thought it was really insightful, because you rarely hear, you know, men talk about that. You rarely hear Black men particularly talk about that. I was glad that Mel she sort of brought it up and kind of like, you know, put the conversation in motion and talking about, you know, mental health, and like everything isn't a gain. Some stuff is you have to quantify, and like, what's it going to cost you? So I feel like sometimes people think about the gains, but they don't think about what it's going to cost you on the back end, you know? So it's the happiness versus the toll that it causes on your mental health. Like you're going toward these goals, but at the same time, like something has to sacrifice in the end. And so you just hope and you work toward the fact that it's not your mental health. Like it might be something else, but you know, listen, we all have a finite amount of hours in the day, you know? So something has to give. Like maybe it's something that you can pay somebody else to do. Maybe it's your laundry. Maybe it's your, you know, cleaning of the house. Maybe it's your running errands or whatever. So you're paying delivery so you can reach your goals. But I'm just saying it doesn't have to be like detrimental to your health. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying just something has to give when you're out here reaching for your goals, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to find balance. Yeah, so let's talk about Miss Tiffany and Destiny.
I like Destiny. Destiny is my favorite. Destiny thinks like me.
So first season though, when she first came on and she had that foolish beef with Kimmi, I was not here for it. That was obnoxious. But I also understood that, girl, you was pregnant.
I just kind of trying to feel her way out, and I did kind of agree with Mel in that she can be a little brash, and like some of her, she don't even have to say it, and that's how I am too. Everybody who knows me knows that. Like I don't always have to say it, but I will give you a look. Like, girl, you better not say that. You know, so I think sometimes people can be a little brash, and like some of her, she don't even have to say it, and that's how I am too. Everybody who knows me knows that. Like I don't always have to say it, but I will give you a look. Like what? And so Destiny is one of those too. Like she'll be like, she won't say it, but she'll be like, the fuck, you know. So
I mean, she was doing a lot of that at that little empty club scene that they had going on. But to her credit, it was just kind of like, what I appreciate about Destiny is she's very clear. Don't play with me. Mm-hmm. Don't play with me. Don't do that. Because but like in her like defense, and not that we need to, but like she was just like, this is not necessary. Like, and what I don't like about Tiffany, which I don't like her period on this show. But like, you are purposefully antagonistic. Like, you're purposefully throw the stone person and then hide your hand.
I can't stand it.
Innocent at the end, as though you didn't do anything, or that people are overreacting. And it's like, she gives me Candiache.
I was about to say the same thing. I was about to say, I know we're going there next, but it's giving very Candiache. Like, I can handle a girl who is like, I'm messy and I know it. I can handle me a Giselle, even though she wears and a Mia, even though they both wear my nerves thin. Like, I can handle a Giselle and a Mia. What I can't handle is somebody who is just like perpetually made themselves the victim and like, oh, I can't stand it. Like, I don't know what you mean. Why would you ever think that?
What the hell you mean you don't know? Like you sitting here getting cussed out up, down, left, right, and center because you said some things out of your mouth that were disrespectful.
I hope Mia knocks Candiache the hell out.
Nobody's gonna do that.
To her back.
I feel like nobody's gonna do that. The one that was gonna do it left the show. And she should have knocked her out.
Have we finished with Love and Marriage Huntsville? Because I have thoughts for Candiache.
All right, let's slide on into the RHOP because we had about almost 40 minutes. So
okay,
yeah,
well, we'll cover them hoes quick. When I say when she threw that salad at Mia, I was like, she has learned nothing. She's learned nothing. I don't want to see no Post-it notes. I got Post-it notes here. I don't want to see your sticky notes, your I am enough all over the screen. I don't want to see it. I don't care. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I'm not interested in going through I am Candiache next season because Mia didn't.
I almost feel like Monique probably, if she did watch that, Monique is probably like, see, this is what I try to tell y'all hoes, but won't nobody listening.
That ran me hot because she did the same thing with Monique. She got in Monique's face and started flipping her hair and she flipped her collar first before anything got going. Candace is the first person to reach her hand. She was the first person to reach her hand. Now, whether the girl saw it or not, she is the person.
Oh no! When they played it back, they showed that. They they played the recap of the recap and the recap, so we could see every blow by blow as to how this all. And we could see
every angle. And she started that shit with Monique, and then and she learned nothing because she did the same thing to Mia. Now, your mama jokes are silly to me. I'm like, I don't think you could really you couldn't rile me with a your mama joke because I just think they're like childish and it's like the thing you say in high school or whatever. And like, you don't really know people's moms.
Your mama is. How old are you?
That doesn't bother me. I'd be like, girl, sit down. But I understand like it's a sore spot for Mia, even though, Candace wouldn't have any way of knowing that. But like, that wouldn't bother me. But I
feel like even if she knew, she would have did it.
Huh?
I feel like even if she knew, she would have did it.
Oh, she would have doubled down. That's just who she is. She is vile. She is vile. And while she talks about her mom and how her mom does too much and all of this stuff, she is exactly like her mom, probably worse.
Okay, apple don't far from the tree.
At all. Oh, I can't stand her. And the whole thing with Ashley is like every time Ashley opened her mouth, she ready to call her wide and her forehead. It's just like
wide face and big forehead and all of this foolishness. And it's just like
gross.
For what? You don't like each other. It's okay.
disgusting. Like, I don't like her at all.
But I mean, like we said this before, like with the Candiache and Ashley thing, it's like Ashley was Candiache before Candiache got there. And so
and before Ashley had kids.
Yeah. And so the vileness that is now Candiache, that was Ashley before.
Oh yeah, and I don't have all that much sympathy for Ashley, but when you talk, if you talk about anything else, you could talk about her marriage, you could talk about anything else, and I would be fine with it. But like talking about a woman postpartum just feels extra gross to me.
I can see that. So when the salad toss happened, I thought that Mia threw salad at Candiache. Maybe I just missed it.
No, Candiache threw the salad first. She kind of did like a toss. It was like, it wasn't like the whole fistful that Mia did. She was just kind of like, you know. And I was just like, you haven't learned anything. You've learned nothing. And I hope someone whoops your ass because you need to learn something one of these days.
But I mean, she strikes me as the type that's just going to still keep on talking. Ass beating and all.
Well, that's why. I think
I'm like,
I was getting ready to say something very inappropriate. I'm going to say, I think
I'm like,
I think a little light bullying is okay for the girls, for the children. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. That's not what I was going to say completely. But, and I'm not saying you have to like bully, but I think there was a time when people were afraid of getting their teeth knocked in. And when we were growing up, so we know the limits of saying wild shit.
Yeah.
And I feel like
the Candiache was the bully. So that's why there's no known limit. She was the bully.
Well, I feel like somebody ought to have knocked her out before now. Because she ain't that big. Surely somebody at school could have knocked her out. I mean, this dot would have been up there ready to sue the school or whatever, but like, and maybe she went to school with like white girls or something, private school.
She did. She said that.
Yeah, that's probably why. That's probably why. Because I feel like the girls of us who went to public school, like
we know better.
We know better. Like we know our limits and who we should try and who we should not. And we know the limits of what to say and what not to say.
That part. So let's move on along. So let's backtrack and go to last week's episode where they would sit up under the tent in Giselle's driveway.
Giselle had them at an active construction site. There was bulldozers in the background. There was shoveling. There was house framing in the background. There was all kinds of things happening down to Bob the Builder and Co. at her house. Okay.
Not Bob the Builder and Co. I cannot.
He was the one with all the excavators and shit. Lippy. That's the new one with the excavators and shit. All of that was down to Giselle's driveway, and she up here trying to host an event. That is the tacky. Giselle is tacky. We have established that. That is the tackiest thing I have ever seen in my life. And Robin was like she was on Watch What Happens Live last week, like tried to tell her we shouldn't have done it there, but she just wouldn't hear of it. So there we were.
My thing is, it's like, Robin, this production is as much yours as it is hers. So like, why would you have your event in her driveway under a tent?
It was just,
I mean, and not for nothing, you know, Giselle is the hostess with the mostest for the most part. However, she failed with the location at this juncture. But like, for what she had going on up under the tent at the end of the driveway, it was cute. It was cute. She had a nice little layout and stuff. It was cute.
Karen said, are we going to get COVID tested? Oh, that's what we know.
She was like, what's going on? We gotta get COVID tested in the driveway? We done drove all the way out here so we can be tested again. I don't got my vaccination.
Dusty, like dust flying, your allergies. My eyes would have been watering. Like, gross.
Fruit flies.
Gross. Okay, that was trashy and tacky, Giselle. Gross. Okay, it's awful.
Woo! You are sending me.
Oh, no.
My favorite though was when, so we're all over the place with this here recap, but when Mia and I don't know who was arguing. Hold on, pause. I don't know who was arguing, but I know at some point that damn Dehjai was over there going,
on my nerves. I can't see. Even that. Dehjai is one of those people, like, she can't even breathe right for me. Like, every time I see her face on my screen, I'm mad. Like, she can't breathe right for me. She can't.
But sis, I'm sorry. That shit was so funny.
I don't find her funny. I don't find her nothing.
But it wasn't so much that she was funny. It was like Karen was going down because she had that second vaccine. And they cut to Candace over there going, like, and you got Karen going.
The second vaccine.
Listen, Karen said that vaccination got her. Okay, it was taking her down,
man.
And then, like the for me, that episode was so funny to me because the special effects that they had going on, like especially even when Candace got down to the doing this to Mia about her being a projection, looked like she was doing the
It was giving
if you played video games when you was a kid, it looked like she was doing the all you can.
What was that on Street Fighter? Yes. It was giving everything but what she thought it was giving, to be honest.
Yeah, it was so dumb. Between her and this and then the like, what the hell? Girl, are you okay?
Yeah. I enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoyed Escala these last couple of episodes. Escala's been in the mix.
I came through.
You know,
she was on my nerves before. I'm like, because she was like Lewis and Tiffany. Like, baby, you just got here, okay? We need somebody to point out the logical shit, but maybe you should just be here for a minute and like feel shit out.
She didn't give me that. It was more so like I felt like she sufficiently lapped the party for my taste, and she had sat in the middle of a lot of back and forth. So to me, it felt she was fine to chime in a little bit, and I didn't. Part of the reason why Tiffany and Lewis be getting on my nerves is because they be wrong as hell. It's like at least Escala chimed in with something prescient.
I mean, her shit always makes
sense. That was right and that made sense. Like, girl, you can at least make sense if you're gonna be out of turn.
Hello, that part. Okay.
So I liked her this last couple episodes when she called me and she was like something about some sort of hoe. I was like, oh, that was fun. That was cute.
She was like, sit down, hoe.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Okay, all right. That happened fast.
And then she was talking about Mia's husband, when they were kind of off to the side. And I was like, okay, I like Escala. She can actually replace Robin. And I like Robin.
This eye roll you just get. Robin is just dry.
That's
until Robin got to have a couple of cocktails. Robin seemed like she would be a good time, but like most of the time she's just dry. Like it just seemed like she's very aloof. She don't be knowing what the hell going on.
Yeah, I agree. Robin is very kind of like, I'm just here.
Robin gives me Kathy Hilton.
Yes, but less entertaining and with less money. So
facts.
Yeah, so I like Robin, but Robin could really just be a friend of Giselle on the show, and we can make Escala full-time castmate because I like what she's bringing.
I would agree, and you know what? That might be what happens because you see all the turn up and the uproar that's happening down to Atlanta.
The girls are getting the hell on in Atlanta.
I mean, getting the hell on and are like being told to get the hell on. Like,
right, because I believe Cynthia was told to get the hell on, and I think Portia got the hell on.
well, I mean, she should have got the hell on, all things considered. You meet a girl, you befriend a girl on the show, even if y'all didn't really know one another, y'all were friendly enough for you to be invited into her home, and then a couple of months after the season wraps, you are now engaged to be betrothed to her husband.
No, it's not. Portia was like, let me get out and get the hell on, because I don't want these people in my business, and I know that's what I'm signed up for, and I just can't have it. I'm getting ready to marry this man and or have a child by this man so that I can secure my bag, and I don't need this show getting in my way. Hello? Portia pulled a Vicky. Portia pulled a Vicky Gunvalson. How when she started getting serious with that politician man,
oh, she left.
She pumped it. Now they're not together anymore. They just broke up. So I wonder if she's gonna be back this season. I hope so.
Well, apparently they got rid of Vicky and Tamara.
Huh?
They got rid of both of them at the same time.
Who?
Vicky and Tamara.
Yeah.
She's not on the show either.
No, Tamara isn't on the show, but I hope Vicky comes back. I feel like, some of the shows can survive without the original, like the OC or OGs. Sorry, not OCs. OGs. Like some of the shows can survive. So I feel like Atlanta does fine without Nene, because you have Kenya, who is just as much of a villain. But I don't think OC does well without Vicky, and I don't think Beverly Hills would do well without Kyle. Even though I find Kyle to be kind of annoying, I don't think it does well without Kyle.
Girl, technical difficulties.
Yes. So many. But yeah, so all that to say, I don't know if you heard me, but I hope that Vicky goes back on OC.
I mean, we shall see, right?
I think the streets need her. Anyways, Portia pulled that same move. So I don't even know who's left. It's like Kenya, Candy.
I feel like, so for the Portia thing, I am of the belief that Portia was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and get this bag and get the hell on off this show so I can have my own show with this man. And I feel like there was it's a business arrangement. Like, we gonna collect these bags together. Cause I almost feel like that's too insane to me for it to really be real. I mean, it could be, but it just seems too insane to me for it to really be. Like, we finna find out.
We gonna see.
But so yeah, we done been up here about an hour. We might have to put the Salt Lake City chicks on.
Oh yeah, they're totally punted to next week. Anything else about Potomac that you want to touch?
We can save it till next week. I feel like this is so long at this point, and we thank you for staying with us and watching it if you finished the whole video.
Yes, so watch us. Typically, we're on IG Live, 6:30 on Mondays. And like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you're watching and what you thought about Potomac and Love and Marriage Huntsville if you're watching those, and let us know in the comments.
Also, please let us know what scripted television you're watching and if you have gotten into Our Kind of People.
Yeah.
I like it. So
I have it on my DVR. I'll watch it next week and we can cover it in a recap.
Please do. All right, y'all. Till next time.
Toodles. Bye.
Goodbye.